Okay, so we're now upstairs and we're just at the main thermostat and the main HRV controller. And what we're going to do is we're going to set this for winter operation. And it's really key that the humidity is maintained between 30 and 35% for the duration of winter. And the two main reasons for this are because your windows will get condensation on them when the temperature drops below minus 15, minus 20. And also if there's any little pinholes anywhere in the envelope, that air will get out and it'll condense inside your walls. And so it's really key that we make sure that humidity is maintained here. And in extreme cases where you've either gone too high or too low on the humidity, we can actually start to see cracks showing up in the walls and in the trim work and millwork and that sort of thing. So this is a really important step for maintaining and caring for your new home. So in this case here, what we have in this mode, and this is actually the Deco Touch by Venmar. And in this case here, what we can see is that it is actually in standby mode. And what that means is that the HRV will not turn on unless you manually override in the bathrooms or if you, when the furnace turns on. So it'll naturally bring in fresh air because it's connected to it. So the problem with that is that it's not actually looking and sensing the air right now, and it's not actually controlling it for us. And what we want to do is we want to get this set so that it has a maximum point and it makes sure that it always keeps it lower than that. And this is really key in wintertime. So the way we do that, we use the up and down arrows, and we actually will select, you can see right now we're sitting at 34%. So we're just on the edge of where we want to be. And we'll actually go to, you can either put it on minimum or on 20 minutes per hour. So it'll be 40 minutes off, 20 minutes on every hour of the day. Or if you prefer it to be on minimum, that's fine. One thing we don't want to do is put it on maximum and then walk away from it. What this will do is it'll over dry the house out and you'll end up cracking the trim and causing other problems as well. This is a mode that is great to use if you are having a party, lots of people over, family and that sort of thing, or you've done a lot of cooking. This can help move the humidity down very, very quickly in the winter, but you would never want to leave it on the max mode there because very, very quickly it'll start reducing that humidity down past an acceptable range. So what we'll do is we'll put that to 2040 is the one that I kind of like to use. And then what we're going to do here, you can see this is our set point right now. So this is actually measuring the relative humidity in the house. And what we're going to do is we're going to hold the OK button for 3 seconds until we start to see flashing. And just a second here, of course. Give me 1 sec here. There we go. And right now the set point is at 35%. So that is where we want it for the majority of time in the winter. There are some rare occasions where the temperature will drop below minus 30, or the wind chill will be where we have a lot of cooling going on outside, and you may need to go down and set this to 30. The telltale sign is if you see any condensation on your windows, you're going to want to make sure that that's a good indication we got to get that humidity down. So you can use the up and down arrows to pick the humidity you want. In this case here, we'll set the top point at 35. We'll hit the OK button. It's going to go through some reprogramming sequences and it'll bring it back to the normal set point there. A couple notes about relative humidity that is not really a well understood concept and topic. Relative humidity, the reason they call it relative is because it's actually looking at the capacity of air to hold moisture. As we take air and we cool it down, its capacity to hold moisture goes way down. And the issue with that, you can kind of almost picture it like a sponge. So if you take a sponge and if you picture how much water that sponge will hold without squishing it, it might be, a few cups of water. But when it cools down, if you can picture, it's almost like compressing the sponge. And all of a sudden, if you took that same sponge and you crushed it all the way down, its capacity to hold water goes way down. And so now, even though the sponge is fully saturated, and we would call it a relative humidity of 100%, because 100% is fully saturated, it only holds a couple of teaspoons of water. So what gets confusing is when you hear the weatherman out there and he tells you, oh, we've got 90% relative humidity out here, and it's minus 20. Well, the problem is that when you warm that air up and you bring that air back into your house, it's like taking the sponge and letting it open. And all of a sudden, you have the driest sponge. And what it's gonna do is it's gonna go through your house and suck up all of the moisture that's in your house until it's full. And so that's the problem, is that most people get confused about relative humidity because they think that just because the humidity is high outside, that when it comes in, it'll be high inside, and that's not the case, because as you, cold air at 0 degrees, once you go past 0 degrees Celsius, air no longer will hold enough water to keep your house where it needs to be. So that's the telltale sign. And there's some great literature online. You can, if you want to Google psychrometric charts, you can actually follow along if you really want to geek out and look at the curves, and it'll tell you exactly what the relative humidities are and how to convert them from minus 40 outside, bringing that air in and warming it up. And you'll find out that it's about 5% relative humidity. If you take minus 40 air at 100%, you bring it inside, it comes in at 5%. So if you can imagine taking that, leaving this here on max, you basically would be taking 5% RH air in here, and eventually would ruin the house. So that's really key. So we'll leave this at the 2040, and those are the key messages on operating your HRV.